Want to stand up there or down here? Come on here. I know. Just like Robert Boston. Just repeat after me. You want to say Sonny or Magnus? Okay. I, Magnus Sonny McGee, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution
That I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of this state,
and the laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
all duties incumbent on me
all duties incumbent on me
as Cameron Parish Police Jury,
as Cameron Parish Police Jury,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my understanding. And
So help me God.
So help me God.
You're going to give it to Mary. Again. Okay, you got to take off. Put your
Y'all ready? We're ready. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, August the 10th, it's 10 a.m. agenda meeting. I'd like to get Mr. Clark to say the pledge and Mr. Quinn to say the prayer. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to recite the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
All right, get right into things. We go to item number 3, the administrative report. Mr. Booyock.
Good morning, gentlemen. First and foremost, on behalf of the staff, I want to thank Mr. Curtis Bath for his service and all of his support over the past 6 years. You know, we appreciated his cooperation, guidance, support, and most importantly, him and Ms. Bobby's food. But we'd like to welcome back Mr. Sonny McGee to our world of hostility and abuse. He must have just missed out on a lot of the action. So we look forward as a staff to working with you, Mr. Sonny. On August 1st, at the School Board Conference Center, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission hosted a public hearing on the status of the draft environmental impact statement for Venture Global. You know, that project's here in Cameron. We've been hearing about it for 4 years, and it looks like we're getting close to the end. Just last night, we had the public hearing here with Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality as it regards the air quality permit. There were minimal comments by one individual who had some valid questions, and I think that it was a very good discussion. One thing is clear, out of the 1,500 pages worth of documents that was provided by Venture Global to either FERC and or the state, there's a lot of detail involved. And so the results of the meeting were favorable, and so we will see how things progress. Monday, I believe, is the end of their comment period. So we should not have to wait very long to see how comments come in. Last Monday, we spent the evening of the 30th with Juror staff and several members of the community at the Commonwealth LNG open house. The company was pleased with the attendance, and they provided us some new timelines, and it looks as though they're going to begin increasing their activity as it relates to their pre-filing for FERC and actually beginning their FERC permit. From the Gomesa side, we have definitely begun the project. We actually have an agenda item, I believe, further down that's going to approve the geotechnical side of it. We do not want to wait. We do not want to have any hesitancy when it comes to this project. We have visited as a staff with state and federal partners. We have some ideas of what funds could, other leveraging funds could come from. And in fact, at the July Coastal Restoration Committee meeting in Vermilion Parish, staff made a presentation to them on how the jury went through the decision-making process to receive these Gomesa funds in an expedited manner. They were very pleased with that. Coverage on the transaction was found in several media outlets throughout the state. We of course want to thank Ms. Cindy. She always gets our story out there first. So the pilot broke the story first. The Advocate had a front page Saturday article that next weekend. And then the editorial staffs of the Houma Daily Carrier and the American Press had very, very favorable and supportive pieces on our efforts to expedite these coastal protection projects. And I'm going to read one of the direct quotes from the Houma Carrier, and it's as follows, and I quote, "It's great to see such an innovative and promising approach brought to bear on a pressing and worsening problem," close quote. Very good to see individuals who have been dealing with coastal land laws for quite some time understand that what we're doing is an effort to try and make it better, to try and improve it. And so from day one, our goal has been identifying the problem as best we can, having the state and federal agencies buy off on that it is a problem, and then identifying the funding to get the projects constructed to mitigate the impacts, and all of that is happening today. Over the last couple months, sorry about that, sorry, Ms. Cindy, verbal pauses. Fiscal year 2018, the build grant, the new Cameron Ferry grant, was submitted on July 16th. This was a staff effort that ended up being a mini dissertation. I thought I was through with that after I finished my thesis, but that was not the case. 695 pages worth of information we submitted to the Department of Transportation in DC. Very good support from throughout the state, regionally, state agencies, the governor's office, supporting our application. Very excited about the progress and the prospects of receiving, hopefully, a favorable award. Those awards are going to be made by December 18th. We're not going to go back and quantify the number of issues we have and discuss them ad nauseum, but the fact of the matter is we all know that we have problems, and this has been the most ideal manner to get these funds today. We haven't had a better chance to have a new ferry, which is not the most ideal alternative for crossing the channel, but certainly it's an improvement of a 54-year-old vessel that the life expectancy was 30 years. This past week, staff was informed that NACO, which is our National Association of Counties, our National Police Jury and Parish Government Association, coupled with the Association of State Floodplain Managers and the Coastal States Organization, along with NOAA, have selected our local team to participate in the Strengthening Coastal Counties Resilience Challenge. And this was a national competition where we submitted a proposal to serve as a qualifying team in this workshop. This is a national workshop. It was open to everyone in the country. And I believe 6 teams were selected. And we were one of those teams. Dennis Scott with the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury and Lori Cormier, who is their coastal zone manager, along with myself and Miles Hebert, will serve as our team to represent our region and of course, the southeast region of the United States, as a matter of fact, at this educational workshop that will take place in Fairhope, Alabama, October 15th through 17th. And in this workshop, our teams are going to try to get a better understanding of how to plan and prepare for disasters, recover from the extreme weather events, and these guidance, this guidance that we'll receive will both be pre and post disaster. They're going to talk about resilience planning, pre-hazard mitigation planning, the community rating system, which is something we had looked at, and then the legal liabilities of inaction and risk communication and citizen engagement. And last but not least, the thing that I like the most, federal funding opportunities to pull these things off. And so I'm very, very pleased that we were selected from a national realm of applicants. And so Southwest Louisiana is going to be loud and proud there at the workshop. And speaking of Miles Hebert, this past Thursday, the Alliance for Positive Growth had an award ceremony whereby industrial projects and commercial projects and developmental projects were all acknowledged from a regional perspective. This event was well attended. Mr. Rick Richard hosted us all at the old Calcasieu Marine Bank downtown. In fact, the governor presented Mr. Hebert with the award, and for a little while, he knew something was up. It was a complete surprise for him. The staff put together the application on his behalf, and he was selected as the Public Servant Award winner. And so I'm going to embarrass him a little bit, but that's okay because he embarrassed me that night. He looked like a little Plinko chip trying to get to the front. He was bouncing off the tables and people and everything else. So I'm going to read the brief narrative that we submitted on Mr. Hebert's behalf because I think it is noteworthy and well deserved. Miles Hebert has been a dedicated employee of the Cameron Parish Police Jury for over 27 years. Mr. Hebert has held numerous positions in serving the citizens of his community. He first started his profession within the Public Works Department in 1991. In 2001, he was promoted to Coastal Zone Administrator for the parish to oversee the local coastal management program. Some of those duties for that position included attending local and state coastal zone management program, quarterly meetings, assisting the public with Corps of Engineers coastal zone permits, and wetland assessments. During this time, he was also tasked with working closely as a floodplain administrator by issuing development permits and answering any floodplain development questions from the public. Throughout his years of service, he has received 3 certifications: building official in 2007, electrical inspector in 2008, and floodplain administrator in 2010. Miles was also tasked with performing residential substantial damage assessments and electrical inspections on every structure in Cameron Parish that sustained damage for Rita and Ike. Miles has played a crucial part since Hurricane Rita and Ike, implementing and making sure Cameron Parish citizens understand and meet new codes that have been set forth due to the hurricanes. Currently, Mr. Hebert is supervisor of the permitting department, appointed floodplain administrator, and the certified building official for Cameron Parish. In this capacity, he supervises 4 employees, administers and implements provisions of the Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance and other appropriate sections of 44 CFR, which is the National Flood Insurance Program, pertaining to floodplain management. Mr. Hebert, in his spare time, also reviews building plans, helps the public, and answers questions on all aspects of code enforcement. I will say this, we are told at a young age that there are cemeteries full of people that thought they couldn't be replaced. And I assure you, as a staff, we put forth a lot of effort every day on behalf of the citizens of this parish. And I have to tell you, I'm so very grateful that we have Miles in that position, and have had Miles in that position for what he has had to endure. I think it's one thing to police the general public. It's another thing to police the general public when they're your neighbor and your friend and your family and you want to help them. But you know that there's some things that you have to do that's right. And so I know it hasn't been easy on Miles. And to follow up the hurricanes, now you have $30 million of investment and people wanting to put things all over the place. And the call was a significant one, and I think he has met that. So we appreciate Mr. Abear. Wanted to recognize him, and Mr. Joe come down and take a picture with Miles. And last but not least, you know, we've been talking about rocks being thrown out along our coast, I think for a long time, but for sure, since 2004, this Rockefeller project has been worked on. If you drop the last button on the lights, it might be easier to see. We have a project update. I think this is the week 3 update since the notice to proceed has been issued on the Rockefeller project. And so Wildlife and Fisheries, Scooter sent it to me. I didn't get his permission to show it to everybody, but it's on YouTube so you can see it anyway. But I did want everybody to see that rocks are being placed out there. And when you look really close at some of these next, Daryl looked at it, Mr. Ford didn't think that they were placing it right. You know, he's the expert. But, you know, decent size equipment. They're going through around 4 barges a day of material. This will go around 4 miles along the Grangemere coast from the mouth of Joseph Harbor westward. There's a couple slides in here, a couple shots, and I'll probably pause it just to kind of illustrate one point. That was pretty plain. That was us. When you see, this is the demonstration project that was constructed in 2013. When you look immediately to the west of that demonstration project, you can see how the shoreline has rescinded. And in fact, there's about a 900-foot gap between the protection and how far the shoreline has eroded. So this is going to, again, last around 3 miles. And so we are very pleased to see that it is happening. We're no longer just talking about it. The money is there. And the parish's efforts to get Restore Act matching programs were successful. So there's another $60 million that's going to be put in Gulf shoreline protection in the form of rock breakwaters and wave attenuation devices over the next 18 months in County Parish. And when you look at this shot, I think it's pretty plain to see just how impactful those rocks are. You can almost see some of the shoreline already creeping out there. So congratulations to everyone on getting this thing going. And we're certainly excited at the prospects of having these materials placed all over our coastline. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Question, anybody?
I have a question, just congratulate staff on everything they do, what they've been doing, all the hard work. Is starting to show a little bit, showing a lot now. We've been fighting long enough trying to save this shore, so it looks like it might work.
Team effort, cross parish lines. Good deal.
Anything else? All right, let's move to number 4. Margaret Harris, Customer Service Rep with Energy.
Good morning, PERS and Parish Administration. It's my pleasure to be named to serve as your representative for Entergy. I met a number of you at the last agenda meeting. I want to acknowledge my predecessor, in the role, Calvin Thibodeau, who did an excellent job interfacing with you, and want to let you know that I'm definitely willing to do the same. It has been my pleasure to interface with Cameron Parish in the past. So there's been a lot of change in personnel over that time. Some of you are still common. And I was in this role back during Hurricane Rita. So I'm familiar with the strife that you've been through, and want to reassure you as Entergy, as a company, that we are here to partner with you for the needs of your community. And although that we don't serve the whole parish, we still have a heart for you here, and we have a heart for our customers and providing the level of service that you need. So if you'll allow me, I'm going to run through a brief presentation on being ready for storm season. We're well into it now, but we're getting to the time of year that typically presents more challenges for us. So I want to reassure you, just as Cameron Parish prepares year-round for storm season, Entergy also prepares year-round to be able to provide readiness and recovery that's needed. So I know the jurors have some of this in front of you, and just to make it a little bit easier. So we, like you, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And we have a staff year-round working toward that. We recently had a storm drill. We do those in May, where we leverage people into their storm roles. Every employee at Entergy basically has a storm role, including people that are in our corporate headquarters in New Orleans. And we move into that role this year, like a number of other years. Targeted landfall was not far from us here in Cameron Parish. So we've gone through that, and it's a very valuable exercise, because even our new employees have a role. So they get to move into that role, figure out what they need to be doing, so it's not all new to them when we have an incident. So one thing we try to do as a company is to give our customers an estimate ahead of landfall, and it's strictly an estimate of what kind of restoration time they could look at. And this is definitely, variable, because every storm, every event has its own characteristics and nuances. But we try to make a projection to help people know what they need to do or to take action. So in a Category 1 storm, if that's what the projection is, we try to tell people that we look for about 7 days to be able to restore power to about 90% of those who can take power. And that's one of the key things. Not everybody can take power. And then in Category 2, we're looking at about 10 days. Category 3, about 2 weeks. Category 4, about 3 weeks. And there are a lot of unknowns around a Category 5, and we hope not to see that. So one of the things that happens on the very front end, number one, is the safety of the public and of those restoring power. And I'm grateful to say that we have a brother helping brother type of industry where we leverage workers from around, and we share our workers throughout the country so that we can gain more and more experience to be able to do high quality work in these tough situations. I will say that for the last 21 consecutive years, I'm proud to work for a company, Entergy, who's received Emergency Response and Mutual Assistance Award from the Edison Electric Institute for 21 consecutive years, and actually received 29 awards, just as Cameron Parish has received many awards for the efforts of your personnel here in the coastal area. We too have. And so I hope that gives you some assurance of the kind of company we are. On the very front end, after a large incident, it's hard for people to wait. But it's critical that we do a very thorough assessment so that we get the right materials in place and make the best assessment that we can. And we leverage personnel from outside this area, from outside our company, depending on the size of the event, to do that as well. At the same time that's taking place, we're evaluating, did we have damage to our power plants? What kind of damage did we have to our high voltage system that moves power across the area for us? Those things are taking place at the same time. And then we move on down to our distribution system and what serves you right there near your home or business. It takes a large group of people to do some really challenging things. We have staging sites where we house workers, and it's important to have those in place, and we keep those in place and renew those contracts or look for additional opportunities so that we can ensure that workers have a good night's rest, the best type of night's rest for long days ahead, just like you want for your own employees. So that's, if we ever have an event that maybe has less damage down here and you have the opportunity or interest to see that one of those type staging sites that could even be maybe leveraged in West Calcasieu to support Texas, I'd be happy to give you the opportunity to come with us to see some of that operation. So we have a lot in common in what we're doing. We have a lot of technology today and a lot of things that are helpful, more helpful maybe than we had during the time of Rita and some of the subsequent storms. And I want to encourage you to take a look at what's out there on our website. We have tremendous storm readiness information. We have an app that's used where you can, if you're an Entergy customer and you have a light out at your home, whether it's an area light or maybe it's even a street light, that can be reported over the app. Daryl does a great job using another method of reporting lighting to us, lighting at Entergy.com. And so you can look and see, even in normal routine business, where outages are for this parish, where they are for Calcasieu Parish, where they are in the state, and where they are on our system. I encourage you to go to Entergy.com, download the app. It's easy to use. We've made a lot of improvements on our website. So this is just a map, kind of a broad view of the overall system, and then you can just zoom in and take a look and get down to even sort of seeing how people are working. Now, in a big event, it's going to take a while for this to come into play, but we'll still be able to report like large numbers of people with outages and that type of thing, and it'll become more and more accurate as the predictions become better and better. We're modernizing and working to modernize our grid so that the information flowing into us is more and more accurate. So over time, the accuracy is just going to improve on the predictions based on the calls we receive or the damages we know we have, and knowing how many customers we have out and exactly where they are. It's hard for me to see my own presentation. So we use social media as well, and that's basically our corporate office is helping send out the messages via social media, and we'll be using that channel more and more. We all have different means that we prefer for communication, so we're trying to use them all at Entergy. And safety is key to us. It is very key to us, and we want to remind everybody, and you remind your constituents, that just never make any assumptions when you see something down. Sometimes people assume that it's dead, it's not energized. Sometimes they assume that it's a communication cable and that, they can move things out of the way themselves. We know the parish at times has definitely helped us move things out of the way so we can restore more quickly. We thank you for that. But we never want to sacrifice safety. Again, just a reminder to go to our stormcenter.com and take a look. There's a lot of great preparedness information out there. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to serve your needs. Mary has my contact information. I met several of you directly at last meeting, and I'm here to serve your needs. Any questions from the jurors or administration? We look forward to being your partner.
Thank you. All right, moving along to number 5. Bill DeBose, Jeff Davis Parish, candidate for member at large, executive board of the Police Jury Association of Louisiana.
Yeah, just Joe, I talked to you yesterday, he had a funeral issue. It's more, so he'd like to come this afternoon and just introduce himself.
Okay.
We thought maybe give him 3 minutes.
All right, that's good. All right, we'll move on to number 6, 2017 audit report, Mr. Coy Vincent.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm not gonna go over the report in detail at all, guys, it won't take very long here. I met prior with the staff, administration, went over the report more in detail. Just real quick, as far as the 2 most important pages in the booklet, basically is page 24 and 26. Page 24 is the balance sheet, page 26 is the statement of revenues and expenditures. Just in general, a few points to make. As far as the general fund, you have a fund balance of about $16.9 million. This is for the audit report for December 31st of 17. That fund balance represents about 62% of your annual operating expenditures. As a rule of thumb, 50% is considered a strong financial shape. You're at 62%. The parish is doing well so far. And for the year, the revenues exceeded the expenditures by 1.4 million, positive number. So it's a strong year, a good year. As far as the audit report itself, it's a clean opinion, it's an unqualified opinion. It basically means that nothing was found, there's no findings at all, there's no reportable conditions. Overall, clean report. The staff's doing a great job with you guys. Any questions? I'm certainly available anytime. If anyone has any questions, please give me a call. We'll discuss any issue you'd like.
Yeah, thank you. All right, moving right along, we're gonna go to number 7. Proposed amendment to chapter 7 flood damage prevention ordinance, define RV park. Are you, Mr. Miles?
Yes, sir. It is what it says. We got a definition in our ordinance for RVs, but we don't have a definition for a recreational vehicle park. And that's all this is adding to it. Just to define an RV park in our flood damage prevention ordinance. Y'all got it in front of y'all, but I could read it. If y'all want, y'all good? Read it? No? Yes?
Yeah, let's read them off.
Okay. Recreational vehicle park means an area of land providing spaces where 2 or more recreational vehicles can be parked, primarily for temporary living quarters, camping, travel, or seasonal use. Each RV must be owned by the occupant, owner-occupied, and must remain road ready with current valid registration and tags. That's all it's going to say.
Okay.
Good? We just need to advertise.
We would need to add that to the agenda to go through the ordinance approval process, 30 days advertisement. And
So we just need to put that in the,
In our flood damage prevention ordinance, but we need to get y'all to vote and advertise to see that.
Everybody good with that?
Do y'all want some other ordinances pertaining to RV parks?
say it again, please.
Do you want some other ordinances pertaining to RV parks? I sent over a list of questions about possible RV parks, and I never got a response, except for mine.
The only RP park that I was unaware of, Ms. Jones, is what Dino was trying to do in Hackberry.
I can ask you, no, if you can put, we can put, the ordinance would provide that no more than 50 RV units be located in a single RV park, and a single RV park includes all land contiguous, even if only at one point, and even if owned separate. This is to prevent a person from subdividing his property and putting ownership in a relative, so that there could be more than 50 units on each subdivided tract. Is that what you want to do?
Well, is this only gonna take place in one part of the parish?
That's what I need to know. I
Well,
don't know.
I'd like to have an answer if it's gonna be, Only in the Hackberry
Well,
area?
that's up to y'all, not me. If you
Well, I mean-
wanna have it in Grand Lake.
Will the law say only in Hackberry?
The law will say whatever y'all decide it needs to say. If you only want it in Hackberry, we'll only put it in Hackberry. If you wanna have it include Johnson Bayou, we'll include Johnson Bayou. But y'all need to let me know what areas you want to be covered.
Like to have an Hackberry, and they have an option later on to decide.
So nobody else wants it in their part of the parish?
I don't want it in Grand Lake.
All right, okay.
I mean, wait, I'm just one, we got 24 in the Grand Lake area. I have, question come up. So, I mean, I don't know, in my district, we have enough property to put on the park. That's pretty much loaded up with homes.
Okay, I'm Mr. McGee. Do you want to talk?
This is new to me. I'm going
Right.
to study up on it a little bit before I make a decision.
I'm gonna send you, if you could give me your email, I'm gonna send you a copy of the questions that I had sent earlier to the jurors, but it's mainly designed to keep, a large group of people from coming in and building a really big RV park. We don't wanna restrict the rights of homeowners to put 2 or 3 RV parks in their yard. But
One question on that, would this be handled like a zoning restriction, in the sense that people would have opportunity to publicly?
you would have a period to come in and, the public would have a period to come in and give their comments on it if we decided to do that. Let me ask you, also in here, I looked at some other parishes and they have a provision that all RVs must be owner occupied because you're required under the floodplain ordinance to take your RV out if there's a mandatory evacuation. So if the people from out of town come in and buy RVs and then rent them out, there's gonna be nobody available to take the RV out. So do you wanna include that, Mr. Pierce? Okay?
I mean, that's what I just discussed with y'all. Yeah. Exactly that part.
Right. Okay.
But that's not just gonna be for Hackberry, I want this parish wide.
Yeah.
Right.
Parish-wide, we're gonna have the part that says anybody in an RV, it has to be owner occupied.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, all RVs and, RV parks must have provided all provisions of floodplain ordinance and all applicable regulations pertaining to sanitation, water, and sewage. You cannot excuse compliance with another provision through an ordinance. So even if someone just has a couple of RVs in their yard, they're going to have to comply with whatever the health department regulations are for having an RV. Do you want to require a certain amount of space between units?
Yeah, because a lot of these RVs have slide outs, they park in quick, so they'll need a space. And also, one to catch fire,
Right.
Or the other.
Do you want to require a fence around the park?
I would say there's a neighborhood subdivision. Saying anything, trash, something we fly around. Anything.
Buffer zone between neighboring property, right? You want me to just use the size, the spacing limits that are in the Calcasieu ordinance? Okay. You want to require a concrete pad?
What are those size? What are those
I don't
sizes?
remember, it's somewhere
Because that's gonna be important, you might want to think about that. The size
in there.
of the, and I think Miles had provided some comments, I think we sent them to you, Ms. Jenny, about the fences and everything. We were worried about that.
What is under our ordinance right now?
We don't
Just
have
send it on
anything addressing that.
July 10th.
Well, if you got something,
We're worried about
The
vehicles.
the only thing that's really gonna fit in the flood damage prevention ordinance is this, so anything else extra, that would have to be placed, that would have to be placed somewhere else, not in building codes and permits, and it's not in the flood damage. This is the only thing that was gonna fit in the flood damage prevention. The other stuff gets into more, that's gonna be, I don't mean, that's y'all, that's whatever y'all want.
it's gonna be, you're gonna start zoning everything on that.
Right, and that has nothing to do with building codes. I don't enforce RV parks and building codes at all, as far as spacing, pads, or any of that. But all that other stuff she's bringing up, that's in Calcahuet's zoning ordinance.
That's a zoning ordinance.
That's zoning, correct.
Who's gonna referee it once we pass?
Okay, questions?
Oh, you think you can? Huh?
I think we raised your hand.
I guess I'm the zoning enforcement guy, but it ain't really zoning. We don't have zoning stuff.
You have the 40 feet thing?
But that's, so, you know.
Consider this.
And you're gonna have to see a final ordinance of draft of an ordinance to be able to make any determination.
Reconsider it.
All right. Okay.
Miles, I have a question.
Sir?
Is there a way to differentiate between somebody, say, that has a piece of property, and they want to put a couple of trailers on it, and they may not be there permanent, versus somebody who's paying to rent a spot in a trailer park, a commercial deal? Is there a way to differentiate between that and what you're talking about?
And you gotta design RV, define it somehow, what an RV park is. We're doing 2 or more. And, if you put it in your backyard and rent it, even DEQ straight out as commercial. If you rent it out for money, DEQ's even straight.
If you rent it, yeah, I understand it, it's commercial. If they put 2 in their yard, they rent it, they should be a trailer park. But I'm wondering how it would affect individuals who will take on a piece of property, want to come camp on the property.
We're letting them put them right now on that piece of property in their backyard.
They're going to continue, we're going to continue to let them.
Yeah.
No permit,
As long as they get their DHH permit and all this that they need, their DEQ requirement now for their discharge on their sewer, they need to know too. And we're permitting what they put 2 or 3. If the sewer letter says they're good for 12, we permit for 12. Yeah, but as far as any other regulations, there's nothing in the codes that says I have to enforce any other.
So so basically all you're doing here is defining what an RV park is.
That's all I'm doing.
It's just a definition of it.
And it's only for the flood damage prevention, not building codes and permits, because it won't fit in there, it won't go in there.
This would go in a different part of the ordinance.
And I'm asking this question also, if we accept this as a definition of a trailer park, 2 or more, and even though it's on private property, would they be held accountable to these restrictions or improvements that need to be done?
But 2 or more, I mean, 2 up to 50, if we do 50, they gotta stop at 50, you can't go over
I
50.
understand, I'm just saying if somebody has a place in their yard, they want to park a camper or
Right.
a piece of property, are they going to have to have a concrete pad and a certain area, a fence around these things, are they going to be restrictive in that minimum sense to those individuals?
1, no, but 2, it's gonna fall in whatever y'all decide.
Right.
Well,
Okay,
if
That's
they
it.
don't
It's
make
restricted
this
to hackberry,
habitable-
it'll be hackberry.
Yeah, we just do this for Hackberry right here.
Right
It won't-
now.
It won't happen in Johnson Bay or no place else with her and Tino talking about.
Okay.
That's just gonna be Hackberry pass out that ordinance.
The part of that Hackberry area also falls, it falls
Yeah,
under
well,
your area.
you're right, you're right.
I need to understand what it comes from.
Then we-
I don't understand it at this time, I apologize for that, but. Oh, that's
Okay, yeah.
We can always come back and add another area of parish if that's how you feel about it, if they want to do that. I wanted to ask, and this should be, I think this is already in our floodplain thing. The city of Lake Charles has an ordinance prohibiting occupancy as a permanent residence. Now, we don't do that, right? Okay, they actually make you can't stay there more than 12 months, and then you have to take it off, and you can't come back within 60 days. We're not gonna do that.
There's already stuff on RVs somewhat for flood damage prevention, but it's not like that.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to, I'll have that for you for the next meeting.
I'd like to still move my part forward though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because we just one little section we're doing, if we can I'm seeing some situations that's gonna arise, we need to go ahead and get that for
You
you.
good with that, Ms. Jenny?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's- we-
Yeah, we're gonna do yours.
We talked about that definition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You're not putting a fence up, but they have problems in that RV park, and all that can go down.
What, I didn't,
RV park, the RV owner is responsible for trash and everything, sure that. Improvements.
Stipulated, he's referencing the fence issue.
oh, no fence if,
He's worried about trash issues, noise buffers, things like that. And we're gonna have to make sure, you know, with Ms. Jenny and Miles, that that's not a zoning or some sort of land use ordinance versus flood damage prevention, because we don't have it.
well, these are land use ordinances, but that doesn't mean we can't do them. We can still do them just like that. But you really don't wanna go forward with the fence idea right now if there's complaints about trash.
You said it is 2 to 50, then everybody would have, from 2 would have to put a fence up,
Right.
so that you wouldn't do that.
Okay, now, we could say that, we could put in there that, it is responsible, the owner of each particular RV to keep the area free from trash and all that kind of stuff. That would,
Noise and noise.
and then, noise and trash. And, then we could say, that way, if we have complaints, there would be a violation of the parish ordinance, so we could address that.
And what about pets?
Put something
You
in
have a
that.
problem, they could have pets, and neighbors across could have pets, and
Yeah. I mean, but do you want to put in there no pets?
okay, I don't know, that's it, pets.
Well, you're always responsible for them. But,
We don't have room for them. We don't.
we've,
Just leave everything, yeah.
okay. But, oh, all this can only apply in the future. Everybody who's already there can't be
Right.
affected by this. Or anybody who's already permitted. Like if somebody already has a permit for 60-unit RV park, we can't reduce the size. Dave, you want to put anything for Ken? All right. Got it?
All right, good deal. You gonna get something drawn up so Ryan can look at it, the final thing, Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good deal. Let's, everything good? Okay. All right, we'll move on to number 8, update on tax renew elections for March 30th, 2019. You, Mr. Darrell?
Yeah, Mr. Dupont, just to let y'all know, on March 30th, we'll have renewals in the following districts. Parish-wide, the library will be, tax will come up for renewal. Bradley Grange District 8, in Grand Lake area. Hospital Service District number 2, that's in Johnson Bayou area. Bradley Grange District 7, Johnson Bayou, the Hackberry Recreation District, and the Fire Protection District 16, that's in Lowry. And Lower Cameron Ambulance District will have a renewal. Those are all on the schedule for the March 30th date. You have a schedule of the millage information and the tax value. Those districts will be having meetings here in the coming months to adopt resolutions. Mr. J. Delafield will be helping those districts and us with these documents. So just to let you know that these new renewals will be coming up here in the next, for that March 30th election.
All right, any questions, Mr. Darrell? All right. I got a couple cards here, some items on, I think, on the vote meeting. The first one is, Patricia Boudreaux, a subject by John Duan. You want to come up here and talk with Patricia?
Yes, I'm here to speak on behalf of us in Grand Lake down our road, which has been going on for a good while now. I really don't want to be here, because I have things better to do with myself. But I'm here to speak because of how can a blacktop road be backed up? Backed the blacktop up and didn't put no shells? Who gave them the authority to do that? You have to go to the police jury to get a permit. Somebody did it. Who? We don't know. You know, put me in your situation. What would you do? You want to block everything off? Do this, do that? What kind of life we have to live today? Life's too short. Believe me, I lost my daughter and I don't like it from them. It's just it's time to do something. If he is, and I'm talking of Charles Smith. Y'all want to know what I'm talking about? That's what I'm talking about. And I don't care what he does, where he goes, that's his business. But the pipe that he puts, that it was there when it was for the parish. When the blacktop road went up to my brother's carport, and the flush out line stops before the where the road was at, Parish took care of that. But they always seen about it. And now he wants to put these two posts, all this stuff, and my husband's a farmer. He works cattle. He's on a low bar, a horse trailer. And everybody knows about it. How are we putting up with this shit? How would y'all like to be in our position? How can he go legally and back up the road? Okay, my objection is, Mr. Tom Barrett, we had a meeting with him in March or April. He said it was a done deal and he was going to see about it. Now we're in August and we still ain't done nothing. Something needs to be done. Do we have to hire a lawyer to fight this? This is no point, you know. My mother did what she did willingly and gratefully. And I can show you the map. Shows the road, and they want to abandon that road. How can they abandon that road? When a parish has got a road, they can't abandon that road. To my knowledge.
Well, we're talking about the one that we're accepting this afternoon?
Yes, sir.
And I think we went through paperwork after paperwork, right?
And we're supposed to get letters in the mail to let know what's going on. We never received a letter, not a letter one. And I'm tired of it, you know. It's that point. Why come to a meeting and argue over stupid shit? You know, excuse me, but it's true. We got a DA, we got an assistant DA. What do we have? He's no better than us. Nobody's better than nobody. I don't care who you are, where you come from, we all alike. Now, if you want to be something, you need to represent us. Give us some help. I fought with the Diane Oliver situation for years. I got that solved. But I did through a lawyer out like Charles. Now, do we need to hire us a criminal attorney, whatever we need to hire us? Let us know. We're going to fight this. This ain't going to stop. And it's sad, but it's true. And then I get a phone call from Emily yesterday evening that Mr. Tom Barrett wants us to go to a water meeting to talk to us. No, we don't need to go to no more meetings. This needs to stop. Now, what y'all can do? That's it. I'm sorry. I have to come here and be angry because I do what I say I'm going to do.
Okay, well, Mr. Tom's gonna address here, let him address what he got to say.
Yeah. It's like the water situation too.
I can understand your frustration, and so let me bring y'all up to speed on what we're talking about. We don't have any pictures, and it's easier, so I'll try to do my best. The parish does not, so we're talking about John Duhan Road. Runs east and west off of LeBeau Road in the Sweet Lake area. From LeBeau Road going east, or going west on John Duhan, we do not have a written right-of-way agreement. So that's an issue. We've experienced that in Holly Beach. That's a problem. So with the help of Lonnie Harper's office, we have a lot of nice pictures and surveys. And so we did meet with the Boudreaux maybe in April or so to talk about this issue. And the first step in representing the police jury, the people of the parish, was to obtain a written right-of-way from Linda and Charles Smith to establish the agreement, or at least establish what the parish and the Smiths could agree to as to what our right-of-way is or was. And that's what you will vote on this afternoon, to give the president authority to sign a right-of-way agreement that has been signed by Charles and Linda Faye Smith that provides a 40-foot right-of-way, north and south, that extends to a point. Now, the point doesn't get all the way to Mr. LeBeau's property, but it gets it as far as the Smith was agreeing, but that we're not through. That's just step number one. So we've established a right-of-way that gets us to a point that's about 15 to 20 feet from Mr. LeBeau's property. And that'll be done this afternoon. When we met with the Boudreaux and LeBeau's back in April, the question was, how far does the public right-of-way extend beyond that agreed upon mark with the Smiths? Again, do we get another 20 plus feet onto the LeBeau property? And that's what we said, that the parish believes, based on the facts and the information, and Mr. Nunez was in the meeting, based on all that we know, that we have maintained and blacktop past that, what I call the Smith mark of our written right-of-way, headed east onto the LeBeau property. So but the Smiths don't agree to that, so we can't force that upon them. Only a judge can make that decision. So now the parish has decided you can sign a right-of-way. We have a right-of-way up to a point. From that point going west, a judge will have to decide that, and that's what we talked about. And we're going to send a letter, which is part 2 of the program. Part 1 was to get the Smith right-of-way, which we're going to do, and which we have done. And part 2 is a letter to the people on the west end of that road to say that we think the facts would establish that the facts are that we, the parish, have maintained and blacktopped that roadway past that, what I call the Smith mark. And then they can take that to their attorney, and that becomes a private cause of action between private citizens who have contiguous property and right-of-way rights and access rights. But we hope and expect that this will help them in establishing those private rights. We just can't, as a parish, take the Smith property, that 15 or so that's in dispute. We can't take that and force that from the Smiths unless we expropriate, and that's not something we customarily do or take lightly. But we have gotten you to within 15 feet or so of your property, which is all we can do, and then give you a letter that we agree with you that the facts that we have maintained that property. So hopefully a judge will grant you a judicial right-of-way, a right-of-way by the judge that gets you what you need.
Your Honor, that's a question I need to ask. Here is the letter of the land. We shouldn't have to ask him for a right-of-way. That road was there before they moved there. They took the best and left us with the trash. And not a one of these people back there went to the Smiths for a right-of-way to put our trailers back there. Because my mom, if I could find that little letter my mother wrote, we've solved this problem. This is the problem, right?
Yeah. And as the public record, the clerk's office doesn't reflect any private or public right-of-way that gets from LeBeau Road all the way to Mr. LeBeau's property. So that's the dispute. We've gotten them within a few feet. We'll send you a letter that we promised, but I had to get this right-of-way done first, so we weren't fighting about that 40 by 500 feet. So I've gotten that. I've accomplished that. It took a while just to get surveys and right-of-ways and signatures, but we got it. The next step is the letter that will be coming to you. And the staff had asked that we meet again before I send the letter. Maybe y'all are calling and just explain what I'm explaining now. Maybe, I don't know. But I provided some dates for next week. It wasn't a water board meeting. It was just a meeting in Grand Lake at the satellite office.
I'm
So we
against
can-
this. I'm sorry, you can talk, but when the road was my grandpa's road, I should not have to ask him for a right-of-way. If that's the
Now,
case.
Tom, is the letter gonna come from the district attorney's office?
It's going to come from
Will you send the letter, or?
whether it's signed by myself or Mr. Boryak, it's coming from the parish saying that the parish has maintained this roadway, or this, and this is what we've done, so forth and so on, so that they could take that letter to a lawyer, and that would, again, we expect would help their lawyer understand and establish or advise them what their rights are.
So in other words, we're gonna have to ask them for a right of way to go to our property? I don't think so. That ain't gonna happen.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be the courts or the judge that decides that. I mean, we can't make that decision for
Oh,
you.
yes.
You know, we're gonna give you a letter and show that we support you in what you're trying to do, and that's all we really can do.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said, we done talked to several lawyers, and they really want this case, but like I said, you know, why should we have to ask for a
I've
right
asked
of way?
that, if they have a lawyer, they can call me, we can talk, lawyer talk, and help save time, but, I haven't heard from anybody, but again, I'm open to receive those phone calls. But any other questions, guys? We're working to try to fix the problem.
Okay. And then, I mean, if your lawyer wants to call Tom and talk with him, he, open to talk to him and help y'all out. So, I mean, that's all that we really can do.
Well, really, we talked to two, and they don't really wanna, fool with the police bureau and the parish, they said. So I don't know what's gonna become of it,
No,
but
don't say for me.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am.
You call me, oh.
All right, we got a couple more cards. Miss Allison Poston, the Rutherford Beach.
Jesus Christ, he's gonna win everything.
As many of you probably already know, my name is Allison Poston. I'm a property owner at Rutherford Beach. I just feel like I need to say thank you in advance if the decision today is favorable for the people that really enjoy the use of Rutherford Beach. I'm excited about the future of Rutherford Beach and the potential it has for good, clean, family fun. And I hope that we all can join together to improve and protect this beach that we love in the days to come. We're confident that you will not let the wants of a few affect the beach and enjoyment of the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more, Mr. Dukey, Rutherford Beach vehicle ban motion.
Good morning, gentlemen, and Mr. McGee, welcome aboard, and may you have the wisdom of Solomon during your tenure here. Folks, I just want to make this short, but I'm representing myself and the Friends of Rutherford Beach, and also let you know we have two other groups, Rock and Rutherford and our Rutherford Beach Fishing Club page. We represent more than 3,000 members total. We're asking you to vote no on this motion. To advise you too, you may or may not be aware, we handed in a petition yesterday of 805 signatures of individuals, again, wishing you to vote no on this motion. As said before, singing to the choir, we have a jewel in this parish. We have Rutherford Beach. It's a great beach. You've probably all been on it, no doubt. It's a beach that's even enhanced the fact that we can drive our cars on the beach, pop your trunk, drop your tailgate, throw the blanket out, have the kids come out, put the cooler out, put the barbecue pit out, wherever you want to on that beach. And we hope you would vote to keep that going. I just want to clarify too, just for the record, that when this argument started a while ago, erosion was the big issue. But you, the police jury, commissioned a report, you paid for a report, and several months ago we had that report. And that Army Corps of Engineer report, page 7, made it clear vehicles are not associated with erosion on the beach. And we hope you weigh that when you make your vote too. Also, to clarify the record, there have been several comments in the past by proponents that no other states allow driving on the beach. We want to clarify for the record, if you look at the 21 states that border the Pacific, Gulf, and Atlantic coast, of those 21 states, 15, the majority, allow you to drive on the beach, but more than 70%. Texas is 50 miles of beach you can drive on. You can drive on Cape Cod if you want. California has multiple beaches you can drive on. So the comments made in the past that we were an outlier and because we had people driving on the beach, that is not the case. Again, voting no for the vehicle restriction, you're going to not worry about ancillary issues. Right now, if we close the beach, you have to worry about Gulf Drive. There's a lot that we mentioned out in the record before we close. You have to worry about West Street. West Street's road seasonally because of the high tides. People can't get onto the beach. And finally, you'll have less ADA problems, and Americans with Disability Action do not have to worry about building a boardwalk or a mat walk to the beach if you leave the vehicles available. And finally, just to request of you, we feel if you vote this motion down, this is going to be a mandate from the police jury that you would prefer to have the roads on Rutherford Beach. The road as you go in, the east road going to the left, the west road going to the right. So if you've been there last time, you know what it looks like. We hope this would be a mandate to the beach board that they cannot close the road down. You may be aware there's just been at the last meeting a motion presented, voted on, and an action allegedly to be taken where they want to fence off part of the east side road that would make it impossible for two-wheel drive vehicles to get down. So again, if you do vote this motion down, we hope you will, we feel it should be a mandate to the beach board. Thank you for your time. Hope you make the right vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's review agendas.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I want to address something here real quick. Ron, it's not that many phone calls, it's not that many people complaining, it just looks like we're having a problem throughout this whole parish. With the mail to the old people for medicine, and the people up in the Grand Lake, Grand Chenier, wherever we having trouble at with this mail system that's going on.
Okay.
I do know that we have no jurisdiction over the federal government, and I do know that we've tried resolutions with them and tried to get something straight with them. If we can possibly send a letter, getting something addressed to Senator Cassidy, see if you can address why the post offices are having so much difficulty delivering their mail. If it's because of short personnel, if it's because of a reason of unknown circumstances, see what we can get out of Senator Cassidy in Washington and find out what's going on with this mail service. There's a glitch going on that's very, very bad, because I do know that I see people, it's on Facebook, it's on this social, it's on this Twitter, it's everywhere, that they're having trouble with their medication. A lot of people are having it with medication. That's no more problem. The elderly people need that medication. It comes 90-day supplies. If you run out of medicine in 90 days, you're in a bind for a month till it gets there. Just, if we can send some type, if the jury's permission will allow you to send it, I appreciate we get it sent to him. Let's find out an issue, see what we can get done, see what it's gonna take that they can do to maybe uphold, maybe.
You find out what the issue.
Sir?
Find out what the issue is.
Find out what kind of issue we're having, and see if we can't get it addressed at that time.
On a delivery route, or are these people?
It's coming through the delivery. Sometimes people don't get mail for 3 or 4 days. Sometimes they don't get no mail for a week.
And that's people who have a post office, a
No,
box
that's
at their
residential,
house.
that's residential houses.
People at the house.
So, I mean, we need to get it, just, if we can get it addressed,
Okay.
that way, it's been addressed, if it gets addressed, and maybe we'll get an answer that we can send out, put it on our public website.
Sure.
Do what we can where people can possibly read this,
Okay.
and maybe they can understand what's going on with the process through the postal service.
Well,
Okay.
I would suggest you contact the one that deliveries come out of, but I guess would be the one on Lake Street. in
Yeah,
South
Drew
Lake
Station.
Charles.
Yeah,
Drew
that-
Station, ask them about,
Yeah,
They've been
They
contacted.
don't give you an
Just to
answer.
get an issue.
They run you around, they don't call you back, it's phenomenal what's going on. Just, maybe we just go above all this over here to Postal Master and the whole bunch, and let's go straight to Senator Cassidy and find out what he can do.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, Ron, I appreciate it.
All right, review agendas.
Thank you, Chair.
You will. On the number 18, the dollar store permit in Grand Lake, is that just out beer, or that hard liquor too, or do you know the liquor permit? I don't know how the liquor permit does.
It's both beer
It's
and
both,
liquor.
It's gonna be hard liquor too?
The application,
Did the sheriff send us something?
Yeah, he's.
Yeah,
It's all approved.
He signed it. Okay, can we, go ahead, I'll let you finish it, but
No,
I'll
that's
ask
okay.
about is there I thought there was some type of distance or some type of ordinance that went on by churches or whatever that was going on in the
State
parish.
law.
Ma'am,
state law.
there's a state law that says it's X amount of footage from a church. footage
I think
is.
it's 300.
Huh?
Booms.
Well, Butch couldn't, when he was gonna sell his facility, the church did a lot of opposition on it, because it was close, because he was making a truck stop, casino and all that. But he backed out of that program. Now you got the
Which
dollar
was there
store just-
before the church. Which
Huh?
was there before.
He was
the
there
church.
established before the church, and that is
Yes,
correct.
definitely.
But the dollar store then built after the church.
Correct.
So my question is, do we have a footage to either uphold it, or we can, to me, I'd like to table this for 30 days till we get all the answers we need.
I'll find out.
Ma'am?
I'll find out.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's in our-
There was people that was calling about it, that was kind of concerned if it was hard liquor, or if it was just a consumption of beer, cigarettes, alcohol.
It's both.
Both? It's hard liquor and beer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we need to find out if it's, I'm sorry, but that's your area up there.
No, that's fine, the answer to the question is it's both.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
talking about the beach, Mr. Doxey, have y'all come up with the resolution where we spoke about the fencing? Is that part of this? Is it listed in here? What was the situation?
What we talked about, I talked to the board, they said, okay.
So
We're
you,
gonna do it next week.
so do we need to change the wording in here?
I'm just gonna rescind that and, put up a fence.
At that corner?
At that corner where we all agreed on.
Just to do, cover just grass?
Covered to do, yeah, and around the do.
Okay, so this is
Yes.
null and void, basically.
Yeah, the beach board adopted a motion
That way the
to
beach won't be.
build a fence
Put the
to
fence up.
protect the dunes.
Closed to begin with.
Okay, we're
Let's get
good.
that straight.
Okay, we're
The
good.
beach was not gonna be closed. You could go, so you should not drive.
But now it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, you can drive.
Okay,
You can
good
do what
deal.
you want.
That's a good deal.
There's a fence out.
We're gonna put the fence down and hang some signs.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Point of information, Mr. President, could you clarify this fence line that's just referred to, that the beach board motioned on? Is this just going to be on the current bird line, or is it actually going to be,
Gonna be on the current bird line where
Thank
the
you, sir.
fence is at now.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, David.
Right there where the same fence is run.
Remember we said we could put the front, the same.
Right there at the grass.
Yeah.
Right at the grass.
Yeah, right there.
Bird,
About 6 foot
yeah.
from that side.
So, this is the one I was talking about, silence.
That's for the right of way of the,
Yeah, that's right.
there's no abandonment on here. No. Yeah. Everybody good with the agendas? Y'all good down there? Carol,
Yes, we do. We will be adding on that, the item for the ordinance for the RV.
Miles is ordinance.
Yes, and that's part, that'll be part of public.
That's part of that.
Part of
Yeah,
public
miles
notice
is
period. That'll be it.
Everybody good? All right, thank y'all.